Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where it's about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Batwoman. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, I figured we were going to start where we started with Luke, which I thought was kind of interesting. Obviously, he wasn't in the Batcave to give Ryan back up, because basically she was dealing with this assassin which stabbed a dude who had a suitcase. You're like, what that was all about, we don't know. We find out about later on, but we'll get to that soon enough. But when Ryan finds him, it's like, oh yeah, like you didn't tell me the 911 operator was a huge Batwoman fan. So but Luke just like, I need time, and he says like, I just need time alone. Granted, he still hasn't talked to Ryan or Mary about what he's going through, because because also being around him is a constant reminder of, I could have been with my dad. Like everything that he went through, what put him on that table. Also, and I brought it up last episode, he made the choice. He wanted to stay with his dad, and that choice was taken from him. Bruce even said it. Make the choice before it's taken from him, but he took too long. And so there's also a part of him that resents Ryan and Mary. Did I say Kate earlier when I meant to say Ryan? I don't remember. Whatever the case may be, Ryan and Mary, he resents him a little bit because they saved him when he didn't want to be saved. So, obviously, you also have your boy Tavaroff, like, out and about doing his thing because he got on a bail, you know. So, at the same time, that's all going down. You have Luke ends up at some like poker game, and Tavaroff's there. Luke's like, you know, it's so interesting, like the way he's acting around Tavaroff, and it's like, oh, basically he's like blaming him. It's like, yeah, I know it's upsetting. I'm a free man, and you are kind of back to just being a car thief. It's like being in the wrong place at the wrong time and stuff like that. So it's like, so what are you going to do? Like, I was curious what Luke was going to do. So he decided he's going to challenge Tavaroff to like a game. It's like, oh yeah, I hear you win these poker things all the time. And lo and behold, who walks in? None other than John Mother effing Diggle. I'm like, yeah! I might have brought this up before, but I kind of got spoiled on it. I knew he was going to be in this episode because I was looking up, you know, trying to see if there were any new trailers out for any new TV shows coming up or anything like that. And I stumbled upon the like trailer for this episode, and it was just, I didn't watch it. It was just the thumbnail had David Ramsey in it. I think it even said like in the title featuring David Ramsey. So I kind of wish I didn't know that, but it's still pretty dope because I've talked about it. It's like, it's so interesting timing because like I brought up, he had directed episode 7 of Superman, because I think I referenced that in like episode 8 or 9 of my review of Superman and Lois. So I just thought that was interesting. But I was like, yeah, why are you in town, John? So obviously Luke plays the card game. And at the end of the day, Tavaroff is like, oh yeah, the house always wins, because he's talking to like he's talking to John, because he's like, oh, you're John Diggle, you work with Argus. It's like, okay, one professional to another. It's like basically looking down upon Luke. It's like, oh, this distraction. Like he was like, it's like, you're such a, I guess because he looks at Diggle as like, oh, an equal. He looks at Luke as someone small. It's like, why are you looking down upon him? You're the one who screwed up. But it's like, because Luke is threatened, is basically ruined his career and everything. So I guess that's why like he had such an issue with Luke in particular, because also he doesn't like being challenged. But he looks at Luke as like, oh, you're just some insignificant ant. I shot you. Sure, I could always put you down anytime I want to. But Luke's like, oh yeah, the fact of the matter is you cheat and everything. You're right. The house does win because it cheats. But you know what makes it even sadder is that even when you cheat, you still lose. And your boy Luke won. He's like, whoa. He's like, the fact of the matter is I gave this whole speech. It's nothing. No points. All right. But obviously John could immediately tell like something was up with Luke. He's like, yeah, what's your issue? What's your gripe with this guy? He's like, no, nothing. It's just a friendly game. So he takes the money and kind of bounces. And obviously I love that line from Luke where he was like, I've been running from this fight my entire life. And what has it got me? Where has it got me? Nowhere. Because that, once again, the episode before that was a whole conversation about like, Luke was always the one like, right, I'll keep my head down, try to avoid all that. And that's a whole conversation he had with Ryan, because Ryan was like, wait, what? He was like, yeah, you guys had to save me. I didn't want to come back. I could have been with my dad. Which Ryan understands that more so than anybody. Hell, Mary would understand both of them wanting to be with their respective moms. Like, yeah, they understand that more so than anything. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about that, like, did that ever come up about whatever happened to our biological parents? That has to be a storyline. I don't know why that never crossed my mind. I was like, right, her mom is her like adopted mom, but it's like, right, like her biological parents. I'm wondering what that's going to be, if that's going to be anything at all. You'd assume that might be a storyline. She might. I mean, I don't know, because I don't remember if they brought up like whatever happened to her adopted, her biological parents or not. And regardless, it doesn't matter, at least for now, because that might just. But I just get the feeling like that might be something that comes up later on. Like I said, not unless they've answered that or not. I'm just surprised that never really crossed my mind to think about that. But regardless, for Luke, it's like I was so close to being with my dad again, and you guys kind of brought me back. So at the time, Ryan can't really say anything because she understands. Because for Luke's also coming at it like, what was the point of coming back to a world? I got shot for doing nothing, for just being me. And the fact of the matter is, it's not a matter of if, but when it happens to me again. Like, just be who I am, looking the way I am. I ended up in that situation, and so many people were so quick to go along with the whole narrative of villainizing me, you know? So, but out in the alleyway, Tavaroff confronts him, and I was like, oh, your boy. I was like, oh, Luke's not going to be able to do. But it's like, no, boy, Luke lands in some blows. I was like, okay. And then proceeds to get his ass kicked because regardless of everything, Tavaroff is kind of well trained and stuff like that. But luckily, your boy Diggle stepped in. He's like, whoa, like the fact of the matter is, he won the money. Leave it at B. And Tavaroff's talking his smack, and then John hits him with the bam. It's like, yo, yeah, you might be highly trained. We're talking John Diggle, a.k.a. Spartan, a.k.a. Green Lantern, potentially. I was wondering, I was like, we didn't get it this episode, but I was like, you're going to pop, I thought like at the end of the episode, maybe he was going to pop on the ring. Maybe just a future storyline, because Diggle is dealing with a headache right now. And John, you have Luke being like, oh, you okay? He's like, yeah, like, just something's going on. I'm like, does that have any relation to the ring? I'd assume that has happened already. Once again, like, where the continuity in a lot of this stuff is kind of ambiguous. I was trying to say ambiguous, but I kind of butchered it the first time. But, like, I don't know if that's supposed... Because, once again, we still haven't technically... At least the Flash hasn't acknowledged we're back to having an entire multiverse again. They haven't acknowledged that. So that's a whole thing of like, Superman and Lois is acknowledging that because all that happened post-crisis with John from a different Earth landing on this Earth. So I don't know. Like, because I feel like if any show was going to mention it, it would be the Flash. But at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, once again, everything split, so we haven't really gotten back to that. So that's why I'm wondering, has the Arrow series finale technically happened yet? Like, I would assume it has, and Diggle's already got... Well, because weren't they moving? If I remember correctly, at the end of Arrow, weren't John and Lila moving out of Star City? I thought they were. Because didn't Lila walk away from Argus? I don't remember. It's been a while since I've seen the series finale of Arrow, but I thought they were kind of walking away at least, or at least they were moving. So once again, that might be a thing of like, right, that hasn't happened yet. He might not have the Green Lantern ring yet. That the Arrow finale probably hasn't happened yet, maybe. But I thought it was interesting too, because someone talked to my mom was like, Luke doesn't know John. It's like, well, I guess it makes sense. I mean, like, even Kate didn't really know the Arrow team like that. She didn't even know the Flash team like that. Like, she only really interacted with, like, the respective hero. Like, she met Oliver and Barry and Kara during Elseworlds, and then, like, again during Crisis, but she never met the full roster of the... I mean, because Diggle and them weren't there on the Wave Rider at the time, I believe. I could be mistaken. I don't think they were on the Wave Rider at the time. During all the Arrow-related stuff. I'm trying to think, like, did they ever cross paths or not? Maybe not. So, of course, she wouldn't know, and she wouldn't have told probably Luke or Mary about it either, so that's why he doesn't immediately know who, but it's like, John knows who he is, because, like, right, you're Luke, you're, like, your father was Lucius Fox, and he's like, I understand more so than anything, like, I lost my dad died overseas, and I was angry about it, you know? I mean, obviously John's lost a lot too, because I mean, let's not forget he had to kill his brother too. So that's already like John's had to carry a lot. Plus he's lost Oliver too, so like he lost another brother. So like John's kind of been through the ringer when it comes to loss, you know. And he kind of talks to Luke about, you know, that anger. It's like, because he's like, you know, your dad, like, we're all going to eventually meet the people we lost eventually anyway. But the fact is, soon enough you're going to be there. How about you live your life, and like, your dad's going to ask you about your life on Earth. Like, how about you go live a little bit more? Then you have all these stories and adventures you can tell your dad about. But he's like, what am I supposed to do? Just let go of this anger? It's like, nah, use it to kind of like, someone like you fighting for justice is what's needed. Use that as your fighting spirit, which, I think he learned from himself as well as, from Oliver, so I thought that was pretty dope. But the way they were setting that up might mean Diggle's going to be kicking it in Gotham for a while, because he said he was here on Argus business, but I'm wondering, is it has something, because he's like, oh, my head is hurting and stuff like that. So it's like, Luca's like, oh yeah, I could set you up with someone that kind of had that checked out. So I'm like, I wonder what that's all about. Well, potentially I have to wait. But obviously, like, at that time, the bat signal went up and it was Morse code for Fox. It's like, I gotta go. And Diggle's probably like, so you're connected to a hero too. I was part of a hero team as well. Still a badass hero in my own right, regardless. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder, is he going to piece that? I'm sure he's going to piece it together, but like, obviously, Luke doesn't know who John is. But regardless, that's definitely going to be interesting. So I definitely think we're going to... I hope we are able to get more Diggle going forward to see like why he's in Gotham and stuff like that, like what's going on with him, and if there's going to be any continuation with his interaction with the Bat Team. It'd be pretty dope if that ended up being the case. But another side of things is we have Sophia and Roman... kind of, Roman in particular is kind of upset because it turns out the fact is Jacob is kind of heralded as his hero. He's like, no, I helped expose the Crows for what they were, and he gets praised as a hero? Like, no, that's messed up. And obviously he talks about his daughter. Like, basically they were able to cover up, for one, her getting arrested, but also her death. So publicly no one knows. And he's like, oh yeah, basically I'm making it like a millennial thing. Like, a Malibu rehab retreat. Those 3 words are kind of like, right, that's going to be her way to get back in a spotlight. Then we see like the commercial and we see where the Rebirth comes from. Obviously it has many different layers to it, but it's part of like their face products and stuff like that. But then it's like, whoa. Okay, I get Enigma helping you get her in Kate's body, but who gave her the face? Oh, Alice did. And she's like, you idiot. Alice is Beth Kane. It's like, oh, he didn't know that. Of course he wouldn't, So I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Because that confused me too, because like obviously like later on, obviously Mary and Ryan are kind of having to handle things on their own. They're able to track down the dude that was killed was a lawyer who basically on that computer that was taken by the assassin basically has a list of all these people in witness protection. And we end up finding the victim. It's a dude with no eyes. Turns out the dude had his eyes scooped out by Cersei, and then said, Cersei was then arrested and kind of locked up in asylum in Arkham. So it's like, that's how she ended up there. But obviously for Mary and Ryan, it's like, that doesn't make any... Like, weren't you told by Alice to stay away from a Cersei? It's like, yeah, like, obviously they don't have the full story of everything. But that's what kind of confused me, because I'm like, what was she trying to do? Like, I guess like maybe there was already a contract where like Roman was like, I want you to make... He's already in the process of making everyone that had anything to do with Cersei's death pay. And that dude was the, like, for one, that's the lawyer who, well, more so than anything, wanted the guy who survived. Like, I forgot. No. He's not a good dude. The reason why Cersei did that is because he assaulted her. So... that's more reason why. Like, he's probably been searching for the guy the entire time, but with Sophia's help, he's able to exact his revenge. So that's what that... Because I was wondering, like, Sophia was kind of doing that on her own. I was like, maybe it's like he's going after trying to destroy anyone that had anything to do with Cersei getting locked up, which that dude did, but also what he did, like, Roman wanted to do to suffer. So, so that kind of clears up some confusion I had in my head. But at the same time, this is all happening... Alice and Jacob kidnapped Cersei and ended up running the DNA. Yep, it's Beth. Or God, I'm messing up there. Sorry, it's Kate. All right, and so they're gonna try and reach out to her memories, like bringing her these different objects to kind of break through, and then lo and behold, who's there? Ocean. It's the introductions. Oh, Daddy, this is Ocean. This is Daddy. Daddy, this is Ocean. I'm like, oh my God, we're having the parent meeting the boyfriend right now? never would have thought we would have had this scene right now. I was like, this is, and even Alice is like, yeah, my dad, my sister, my boy toy, and I would be the one that's not in handcuffs. Didn't see that coming. And then, you know, it's like, I think Ocean was like, yeah, no one ever accused you. It's like, I think no one ever accused you of being predictable, or you've never ever been predictable. So it's kind of, you know. But basically, he brought a whole bunch of stuff related to Kate because if they can chip away, like present a lot of stuff that made her Kate, very much like Alice had to go through it as well. It's like once we start tracking down those memories little by little, we can break the spell even without the special word. And he was like, how would you know? It's like, well, the same thing happened to me. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. And it's like, and Ocean's like, yeah, I can kind of attest to like, yeah, she was angry, but she still loved it. And for him, it's like, wait, someone made you that way. It's like, it wasn't just Cartwright that led you to becoming who you are. She's like, no, Cartwright didn't completely like make me who I was. I was still able to hold on to part of me. Obviously, when she eventually landed on Coriana. And so for him, it changed his mind because it's like, because his entire time he just thought like, oh, Cartwright was the only reason. But it's like, wait, like even outside of Cartwright, even despite everything you went through, you were still kind of like Beth to some extent, despite all the trauma you went through. You were able to still hold on to yourself, but someone else kind of made you into the monster that you are. So I think it gave him a different, at that moment, it gave him a different perspective on Alice. But in that moment, like, Jacob tried to give, like, a memory where it's like, right, I caught, this is where you had hidden some pot, and she's like, why would I come back for, like, a terrible memory? And he's like, you were just saying it was the best summer ever. And so, for her, it's like, really, if I was Kane, like, the fact of the matter is, why would I come back to a family where my father gave up on actually both of his daughters, and now he's here with my evil twin? So why would I want to come back but then, like, you know, Alice shows her this cup. It's like, right, you were into someone at the time. Granted, it's like, oh yeah, because you were into her because she was a skateboarder. But you wanted to come out to me because you were my twin, you know. And it's like you wanted me to be the first one who knew, but you chickened out. But I gave you this cup because I wanted you to know I already knew, because you were worried that you, by telling me the truth about you being gay, that you would push me away or something, you know. And in that moment, Alice grabs her hands because inside of her head, Cersei, well, first and foremost, Kate is locked in the room that, you know, Beth was locked in, and Alice touching her hand was able to kind of enter her mind and let her know, like, you're not alone, like, that dark place. We were on the opposite sides of the door before, and we're there again. Like, I'm here with you. You're not alone. And so she was able to reach out to Kate. Granted, the false faces show up, in particular Tatiana, because it turns out she's the assassin. I think I did cover that earlier. She ends up taking Jacob, and obviously they end up taking Alice too. Luckily, Kate was able to get away, and then like you have Ryan rolling up and they're like, "Oh, are you Kate?" She's like, "Give me some time to get back to you on that." I'm like, "Wow, Batwoman meeting Batwoman, dude." I was almost hoping like seeing her in the suit would actually trigger something too, considering the symbol and everything. But brings her to Mary. Mary's like, "Oh my God, Kate!" Oh, right, this might be too much. Right. We'll give it some time. Your memories will come back. But then seeing Sophie is what triggered it. Like, which is, I'm sure it's kind of like, oh, you remember Sophie, but not your sister Mary. Okay, cool. I see how that is. But it's like, oh, come on. Like her, you know, her and Sophie had like a very intimate relationship. It's like, yeah, but what's more intimate than having a sister, you know? So I'm sure that could bother her a little bit, but she didn't really. But like Sophie was able to kind of spark that inside of her because Alice had already kind of led the way. Sadly, without Alice there to kind of keep things like clear, Cersei shows up and kind of locks her behind the door again. So luckily Mary was able to drug her. It's like, yeah, got to keep, it's Gotham, so you always got to keep something on him that can knock someone out. So now they need to bring Luke into it because obviously Sophia's connected to all of this, and she has Alice now. So if they want Kate back, they need to get Alice back, and to get Alice back, they need to give Sophia something she wants, and that something is the plant. Obviously, it's the last thing Ryan has of her mom, but if it means getting Kate back, it's like she's not like willing to do this, but if it means getting Kate back, because she realizes how important all these people are, like Kate is to all these people, like, right, like if she can do anything, especially because she talks about it later on about, because even Sophia was like, why are you going through all this? Why are you doing this? You know? And it's for Ryan, it's because Kate, you know, she's like, right, you're right. I've never met Kate before, but I owe her. Like, this symbol I'm wearing is because of her. She was a symbol to so many people, a symbol to me, and I'm going to save her. Because also Kate saved her, like, you know, on Halloween, like, a year beforehand. We know that. So, but it's also like, right, there would be no Batwoman without Kate and what she means to Gotham. I'm only here in more ways than one because of Kate, you know, and Batwoman. So I've got to help her in any shape or form. I have no love for Alice, but if it means getting Kate back, then I'll do it. I'll make this sacrifice, you know, giving up this one last thing I have left of my mom. Because Luke was able to kind of point them in the right direction after he got patched up and everything. And Ryan talking to Luke, this was after the fact. Because Alice ended up running away which Alice was gloating because Alice was like, oh, I get a boyfriend and my sister back, and you just get a plant. Because for Sophia, like, Coriana, like, there was nothing left now. So I guess that's her main reason for coming after Alice, like, trying to get revenge, I guess. Or more so, maybe hoping that maybe she's had some Desert Rose of her own. I think it was just more so about revenge. Which is so interesting because she claims, she's like, oh, of course you're going to have this tantrum. It's like, well, you reacting to what you've been is kind of, you've been acting out of a tantrum, whether it be what you did to Tatiana, whether it's what you did to Ocean. It's like, that was kind of all of a tantrum. So it's interesting that she acts like she's so calm, cool, and collected. But I guess in her mind, it's like, I might be having a tantrum or whatever, but I deserve what I deserve. Alice, you don't. You think you've earned or whatever. But I'm like, she's kind of earned everything, considering, like, not only what Cartwright did to her, but what you did to her, especially considering you were in love with her at one point in time, you know? But the moment it's like, oh, you really think you're going to get everything? The moment she made that remark, you're like, of course, she's going after Ocean because she's trying to make sure, like, oh, I've lost so much, and the fact is I've taken away from you, and I'm going to continue to take away from you. That's so... I mean, for one, it's like, she literally burnt your island, so, like, do you think pissing her off again is going to benefit you? I don't know. Because I think for her, you know, it's just like, at the end of the day, you're not going to have anything. Sadly, by the time she shows up, Ocean's already dead. She did end up killing Tatiana, so no more of that. But by the time she gets to Ocean, he's already gone. Which, the fact is, I mean, she did give her brother a second chance, and it's like, right, you chose her over me. Well, I'm not going to make that mistake again. You're just going to die this time. Especially because it's like, she could bring herself to do it last time. She just tore them away from each other. But now it's like, oh, when you think you have everything, Alice, again, you managed to claw your way back to it all. Nope, I'm going to take that away from you. I kind of took your family away from you by making you so insistent on revenge and everything, no matter what. And then on top of that, now I've taken him away from you. So, and now she's about to take her sister away from her again because Cersei ended up gaining control and ended up escaping from Sophie. So, because Sophia already said she wanted someone like Cersei with skills. I mean, to be fair, she's down one top-class assassin, that being Tatiana, so I think this benefits her. So, but sadly, like, Cersei's at the point of, like, not knowing who she is. So, you know, she ended up stabbing Roman because it's like, no, tell me the truth. But Roman's like, oh, you're just having an episode. But Sophia's like, no, tell her the truth. Every powerful woman deserves to get to decide who she's going to be. So what she wants from Cersei in the grand scheme of things, I think getting her in particular would be the ultimate revenge against Alice, because now it's like, oh, I couldn't have you, but now I have your sister, and I'm using her against you to destroy you, you know? So I think pitting them against each other is probably like another form of her ultimate revenge. So there's also another line in this episode that I really liked, I should really talk about too, is after his talk with Jon, I think Luke is kind of at least in a better position now. I mean, for one, he knows Kate's alive, but also with Luke, Ryan's like, all right, I'm going to tell you this. I'm really sorry about, you know, how you're feeling and everything like that. But the fact of the matter is, basically she was almost like, I don't care that you wanted to die. No, screw your choice, because you're not going to leave me. And Luke just kind of smiles and he hugs her, because she's already lost a lot too. So she understands, once again, I brought up earlier, like, understands that feeling. But, you know, it's like she doesn't want to lose Luke either, because he's someone very important to her, you know. So I thought that was kind of a beautiful thing. So it's definitely interesting to see where all of this takes us, especially because Jacob got locked up. I didn't bring that up, but Roman, now that they kind of know everything about each other, Roman's like, right, the world now is going to know about your daughter. And, oh, you're worried about, oh, you're saying the GCPD? Well, oh, turns out some of the false face group is GCPD. What did I tell you? It's like, oh, the Crows might be going, but, man, the GCPD's had its share of corruption, too. Oh, cool, 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 cool. We're seeing it right now. Awesome. That's awesome. So now it's like the world's going to know about Alice being your daughter Beth and everything. So, and he gets publicly arrested, and obviously the news breaks, and they're like, "Oh, what do you have to say?" And Jacob says, like, despite everything, like, you want to condemn Alice, sure, but think about Beth anytime you do. Because for him, it's like, despite everything that she went through, my daughter still has some love in her. Like, the reason why it was an evil man and woman that made my daughter into what she is after everything she went through. So, and in that moment, Alice kind of touches the TV. Like, despite all her anger, like, her love has returned. Like, being with Ocean has returned her love in more ways than one. Not just with Kate, but her dad as well. Like, oh, like, her dad finally seeing her and not seeing her as the monster, that he kind of claimed she was. He's got a different perspective on both of his daughters now. Well, all three now, because he leaves it up to Mary, because it's like, right, you need Alice to get to Kate back, and it's like, I know she's taken a lot from you, she's taken a lot from all of us, but the fact is, if you could know Beth the way, like, he's like, I think, basically, he's like, because sadly, Mary never got to know the real Beth, and he's like, one day I hope they can change that. So it's like, I'm gonna leave it up to you to take care of both of your sisters. And she's like, no pressure. And he was like, I'm not worried. I've never had to be worried about you before. Why start now? So, definitely interesting developments on that front. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Alice now that she's kind of going to be driven by revenge, having lost Ocean. I guess that's the irony behind it all too. Like, you've taken a lot from a lot of people, from Mary, from Ryan, and now you kind of got your just dessert by having a person you love taken away from you as well. All you have left is your sister, but now you also have revenge, and Sophia's mixed in the fold, so it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. If I'm not mistaken, there's only 2 episodes left this season. I think there's only 18, based on, like, what I was reading, I think. I could be wrong, but I think I was reading somewhere it's 18 episodes, so going to be interesting to see where all this takes us. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.